Green flag, green flag, green flag. Go, go.
And he gets a shot from Denny Hamlin. He's spinning off turn 2.
Smashed the wall, nowhere to go, and that car is completely destroyed.
And Tony Stewart spins, gets into the wall in turn 1.
Inside 15, clear low.
Things happen in a hurry at Bristol. Denny Hamlin's there. He taps the back bumper of Joey Logano.
And Logano, he gets a shot from Denny Hamlin. He's spinning off turn 2. Former Joe Gibbs Racing teammates Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin going at it at Bristol last year. This place brings the action like nowhere else, and you can certainly say we can expect more of the same this weekend. Hi folks, welcome to NASCAR America. Lee Diffie and Wally Dallin back with you. This guy says at the end of the day at Bristol, there are 42 grumpy drivers and only one smiling. Is that right?
Ask anybody that's raced there. They will tell you the exactly same thing. It's a tough bull ring. It's the bull ring of bull rings. But that place, for some reason, by the time you get towards the end of the race, everybody has lost patience, and that's when the sparks fly.
Everybody grating on each other a little bit. We've got a lot to talk about in regard to the upcoming Bristol race. One of those key discussion points is the update from NASCAR about qualifying. Well, it has happened, and it being that cooling units will be allowed now in that multi-phase knockout qualifying format. There will be no cool-down laps permitted, however, and some other key points there on that graphic to take note. But cooling in qualifying is now allowed. With more on the qualifying cooling amendment, we called the NASCAR Research and Development Center in Concord, North Carolina, where NASCAR's Vice President of Competition and Racing Development, Robin Pemberton, is there. And Robin, what was the catalyst for this change?
We've been working with our teams and other partners around the garage area. You know, we said all along we were going to take a few races and reevaluate some of the process and everything. This moved a little bit quicker than what we had first anticipated, but it was becoming evident that we needed to do something to try to help the teams cool the engines down so they can do a little bit better job in their qualifying efforts. So.
You mentioned working with the teams. That's something that NASCAR does extremely closely. How was this brought about? I don't want to say was your hand forced, but was it the teams coming to you, or was it a mutual decision?
It was a mutual decision. We knew, you know, in January we had several meetings with our stakeholders, our teams, and you know, explain, you know, the new process and everything, and it was going to be a work in progress. You know, and we've got a very good, open, healthy dialogue with our competitors. And you know, yesterday afternoon, you know, we just don't send out a bulletin or an email. I mean, we did a call yesterday, and we had you know, all of the nationwide and the Cup teams that could participate on the call. We discussed it. We had some good conversation, a little heated debate, and we settled on this for right now. And I believe it should be what the teams need in order to do a right job, their proper job.
It seems the fans are enjoying the new qualifying format, but was this change brought about under the umbrella of safety? Because a few drivers have said things, you know, particularly after last weekend in Vegas. So was it under that umbrella of safety?
I don't think you can tag it on any one thing. The reality is that some may think that this would help the safety, but others, really, it's an opportunity for them to get more laps in on the racetrack. And during these qualifying sessions, which is why we're there, and so that's we landed, and it's a little bit of everything, but we know that you know, we were going to evaluate this when we went into it, and you know, we were just a little bit sooner than what we had first anticipated, but you know, I think we've come to a good spot here.
Robin, we appreciate and respect how busy you are, so a big thanks for your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. It was good to talk to you.
Well, someone who experienced this revised and frantic new qualifying format firsthand last weekend in Vegas is Jeff Burton. And Jeff, what are your initial thoughts on this?
Well, you know, I think it's okay. I think a lot of the teams were really struggling trying to get their cars cooled down, and you know, like Robin said, I think teams wanted to make more runs being able to cool the engine down will allow him to make more runs. The whole safety thing, I just never felt in danger at all. I can understand the closure rate was so large, the speed difference was so large. I personally never experienced that, but I'm sure that some other guys did, and I'm sure with that closure rate being that different, it would get your attention.
Hey, Jeff, I think, it seemed like NASCAR would have liked to have waited a little bit longer, let this go a couple of weeks. But it seemed to me like the drivers and the crew chief got together on this one, really put their foot down and wanted to make a change a little bit quicker. Did you get that feeling in the garage area? Sometimes it'd be nice to take some of these NASCAR officials for a ride on some of these deals. But it just looked like everybody was pretty united on getting this done quicker.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there was a lot of talk in the garage and about needing to put cool-down units on. And I think the teams did put a lot of pressure on NASCAR. Credit to NASCAR for listening. I think that's one of the things that kind of the new NASCAR does differently than the old NASCAR is they do listen. And they have a tough decision to make, right? Because you don't want the competitors making the rules. That's the last thing you want. NASCAR's got to be the company, the entity that makes the decisions. At the same time, they have to have the wisdom to know when to listen and when not to. And in this case, they believed it was best to go ahead and make a change because of what they were hearing. What I believe their biggest problem is in making decisions like this is there isn't a unanimous decision, or a unanimous opinion. I think a lot of teams, a lot of drivers felt one way, others felt another way. How do you know what to do? So NASCAR gets put in a really difficult position in these spots, and it's hard to make the right decision.
Jeff, how do you see it playing out? Is it like anything after a certain period of time it'll be systematic? Do you see any problems arising from it?
Well, the strategy, to me, the strategy changes now, right? So you can go out so much quicker than you could have before. And you don't have to get your tires dirty when you go out, riding around on the apron, those kind of things. So the strategy is going to change a little bit. But, taking all that off the table, and Wally knows this better than anybody, if your car will go fast, the strategy is to get on the racetrack. And now it's get on the racetrack at the right time. So, in my opinion, being able to cool your engines down is an advantage to the faster cars because now they have more of a window open, more time to get their car on the racetrack when they want to. And if it's not when they want to, they can wait a little bit because now they have a chance to cool the thing down so much quicker than they could have in the old format.
Jeff, no Bristol for you this weekend, so enjoy the weekend off.
I'm going to. Have a good day.
Interesting to hear Robin Pemberton's thoughts. Interesting to hear Jeff Burton's thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say about this.
Well, Jeff brought up a pretty good point when it comes to NASCAR because they have to deal with the fog of, working through and making sure that the competitors aren't just doing this to get an advantage. Sometimes we can make a decision and be based on what's best for us. So there was a lot to it. But I also think, like Jeff said, that it's going to be a better show. You're going to have more guys making runs more often during qualifying because there's so much downtime now, or there was, because they had to wait for their cars to cool down. With the tire issue is something that a lot of us didn't think about. When you're out on that apron, those hot tires pick up all that dirt and gravel and stuff, yeah. and that makes it tougher to go out. So I think this is just going to improve the show, and also guys getting a second shot at maybe putting another lap down. You know NASCAR and the NASCAR garage very well. Do you think the teams kind of force the hand a little bit? I think they did. I think it sounded like, when Robin was talking about this a couple weeks ago, that they really wanted this thing to play out a little bit before they made any decisions. But, I think this is the right decision that they made. I think it's going to be better for the fans and the competitors, especially when you get to Bristol and a place like that. You don't need guys, running around the bottom going slow. You can get away with that at a Fontana or a Michigan or somewhere like that. But a half-mile racetrack with 43 cars on it, there's no room. Yeah, it's just too busy. More on the qualifying rule changes coming up. We'll hear from RCR's Slugger Labias. He shows us exactly what will be different. And as we get closer to Bristol, we'll take a look at some of the classic rumblings in Thunder Valley. With 31 laps left in the 2008 August night race, Carl Edwards puts the bumper to race leader Kyle Busch. It was a winning move, but Kyle didn't like it. The two made post-race contact, but Edwards won that battle too. Much more on Bristol throughout the show, NASCAR America, when we come back.
As a grown...
Our Bad Blood at Bristol countdown continues. Just over 30 laps into the 1995 race, Dale Earnhardt spun rival Rusty Wallace. Rusty suffered damage to his car and finished the disappointing 21st. He showed his displeasure under caution and then waited until after the race to bounce a water bottle off Ironhead. Rusty was not happy. Somebody who was, though, was Richard Childress, because his RCR team was good in Vegas. 2 of their 3 cars in the top 10. Of course, Paul Menard the best with that 3rd place finish. His crew chief is Slugger Labby, and he's with Kelly Stavis right now. Kelly?
These changes to the qualifying rules have crews and crew chiefs thrashing to get those changes made in time for the race at Bristol. We've pulled Slugger Labby off the 27 car. And Slugger, if you would, please explain to us what exactly you can do now to cool these cars during qualifying.
Sure. Well, last year in 2013, there was no limit. We could do whatever we want to the engines. We can cool them down as cool as we wanted, ambient temp, whatever we needed. This year with the new rules, qualifying, you couldn't open the hood, you couldn't cool the engines off. You saw cars pulling tape off right around the apron really, really slow. Got to be really dangerous. So yesterday about 4:30 we had a conference call with NASCAR, and they said that we could virtually cool the engines off now, but we can't open the hood. So what we used to do last year was simply, car would come in the garage, we would open the hood, the engine tuner would plug in two hoses into this valve, which would go to an external radiator cool down unit, and it would cool the car off. Well, we get the cool down unit back, but we can't open the hoods. So what NASCAR has done, they said we can open up this hood flap right here. That's part of the hood already built in, and we can have 2 external valves right here that we can plug into. Fun part is Bristol's this weekend, and we've had engineers up designing parts, and the CNC department has been working around the clock designing these valves and getting them built so we can have them this weekend for Bristol.
So it's a lot of work, but how important were these rule changes?
Well, I think the biggest thing is safety. You know, the drivers, some of the drivers were concerned that there might be a wreck on the racetrack right around on the apron. And, you know, the engine tuners are concerned because they don't want to shock their engines and hurt them because, you know, last year we used to run 1 lap and be done for qualifying. This year you run as many as 6 laps. So it's a whole different process. We're learning, NASCAR's learning, they're working with us. So it's a win-win. It's for safety and a little bit of patience, I guess, we'll all learn together.
You guys are coming off a top 3 finish in Vegas and headed to a track where you've historically done very well. 5 out of the last 6 races, you've been in the top 10. What's the level of confidence for the 27 team now?
Well, it's fun, you know, to start the season off at a big track, a 1.5-mile track, which we run a lot at this year. To have good results, have a good package figured out, says a lot about everyone at RCR and ECR working hard together. But Bristol's been a good track, but it's you always expect the unexpected at Bristol. You could be leading the race and get wrecked the next lap. So we've been fortunate to keep our noses clean and have some good finishes, and we look forward to going back there this weekend and getting another top 5.
All right. Well, the other big news for the 27 car is that Paul Menard and his wife Jen are expecting the arrival of their first child, a baby girl, due any moment now. Matt Crafton is on standby to fill in for Paul at any point during the weekend if need be. Lee.
Thanks, Kel. Speaking of Paul Menard, he, Ryan Newman and Austin Dillon will all be seeking first RCR win at Bristol since the spring of 08 when our colleague Jeff Burton led a 1-2-3 finish for the team. Newman has just 1 top 5 in 24 Bristol starts, while Austin Dillon will be making his Bristol debut in a Cup car. Now, Wally, we know what kind of racing Bristol produces. It is very exciting, not just in the Cup race. Take a look at this from last year's nationwide race. It's the 2 Kyles. Kyle Busch in the 54 and 20-year-old sensation Kyle Larson taking it to him right at the end. The closing laps were absolutely thrilling, and the combination of a nationwide regular then and a Cup star fighting it out for the victory. Now, there's another youngster who will be battling the Cup regulars this weekend in the nationwide race at Bristol. 18-year-old Dylan Kwasniewski is excited about the prospect.
The nationwide guys are really good drivers, but ultimately the Cup guys are going to be the ones who you're going to be racing against for the rest of your career. So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, trying to race against Kyle Busch and beat this guy, I mean, he's obviously a great race car driver. He's been on these tracks so many times, but you got to prove yourself. It is tough to beat him, but if you do beat the Kyle Busch, then you can show that you went out there and whooped on a Cup driver.
And if young Dylan does put a whooping on a Cup driver, that'll be quite the accomplishment.
Yeah, he's in for a little bit of surprise. But you know what, Kyle Larson, that race put him on the map. I mean, you know, he had been in the seat a ton the last couple of years, and a lot of people knew about him. But, you know, when you go up against one of the best in the business and you almost beat him at Bristol, that was really when the light went off with a lot of people and said, wow, this kid's got a ton of talent.
And Busch even complimented him and said, I kind of appreciated his aggressiveness because, you know, he's only 20, he's going to have a huge future. A lot of people don't like the idea of the Cup drivers cherry-picking coming into Nationwide. But as you just mentioned, doesn't it give these young guys a really good target to aim for, to a benchmark to compete against?
What did Kyle do? All right, I got an answer. Get over it. Isn't that what he did?
That's what Kyle Petty said.
Yeah, Kyle Petty said. Now, you know what? I agree. But I don't know if the Cup guys should be in it every single weekend. I think they should limit how many races the Cup drivers should run in Nationwide. But you're absolutely right. I think it's really, really important that these guys run against the Cup drivers, not only for them to get the experience, but also for the Cup drivers to see what kind of drivers these kids are when they get to the Cup Series, if you can trust them. There's a huge amount of respect that you have to earn in this sport. And it's a great way to do it when you have the Cup drivers and the Nationwide drivers competing against each other, you know, especially with the rookie like these guys. They're getting such great experience. But I'm not a big fan of the Cup drivers just running so many of the races. Let them run 10 or 15. Let them pick 10 or 15. You're still going to have plenty of Cup guys in the races, but maybe not all of them.
Time for a break, but before we get there, another Bristol bad blood moment. This is in the spring of '06. Matt Kenseth spun out Jeff Gordon on the last lap while the two were battling for third, and Gordon didn't even wait for an explanation. He was on attack mode. More Bristol magic. Open wheel fans, Formula One is back, and it's this weekend with the Rolex Australian Grand Prix. Coverage begins Saturday at 1:30 a.m. Eastern, and there's an encore presentation at 6:30 a.m. Eastern right here on NBCSN. Our top 5 road rage moments at Bristol Motor Speedway. Tony Stewart, Matt Kenseth in 2012. And Stewart was on the verge of making the chase. He took out his frustrations on Matt's Ford. A little bit of pitching practice. You would pretty much say that Smoke was in the strike zone with that. Not pleased at all. And Wally, you can basically say that's typical Bristol behaviour.
That's very typical. They didn't exchange Christmas cards that year, I don't believe.
All right, let's take a closer look at this place. Let's head to Tennessee, to Thunder Valley. The keys to Bristol, and this is virtually impossible, isn't it, staying out of trouble?
Bristol and Dover are very difficult to stay out of trouble. This place is a half-mile racetrack. You got 43 cars on the racetrack. There is no place to go. You see Casey Mears and the 13 gets in a little bit of trouble. The problem is everybody's just stacks up behind you, and you could be just doing your own thing and somebody runs in from behind you, so that's tough.
Other than a victory, if there was one thing you could have at this place, it'd be a lot of this, wouldn't it?
I'll take a lot of grip at Bristol. It's really important in 1 and 2, right in the center. You want to roll through the center to be fast here, and that's going to take a lot of grip. The nice thing about this place is you've got the progressive banking. You've got 28 degrees on the high line, you got 24 on the bottom. Now the bottom is the fast way around this place, but on the top you can carry a lot more speed, and it makes for great racing here at Bristol. As you can see, Martin Truex in the 56 and Kurt Busch on the bottom, they did this lap after lap. That's what people are, they love coming and watching this race.
Track density is insane. You said it, 43 cars, half a mile. Virtually there is nowhere to hide.
Yeah, you watch Matt Kenseth. He's minding his own business here, running the high line. Jeff Gordon blows a right front tire, shoots up to the wall. Matt had no place to go. So your day can be ruined very quickly because of somebody else's misfortunes or mistakes.
It's literally the nature of Bristol Motor Speedway. Ground was first broken on this place in 1960. The following year, Jack Smith won the first Cup race there. One of the biggest changes, though, took place in 1992 when the surface went from asphalt to concrete. 41 drivers can say they've conquered the world's fastest half mile, and the man who has done that more than anyone is Hall of Famer DW Darrell Waltrip with 12 wins. Speaking of good results at Bristol Motor Speedway, we're going to show you 3 guys now to watch this weekend, and it's based on their results and their average finishing position over the last 9 years. 18 races for the spring race and the night race. The first guy, appropriately, is our championship leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are this is a good place for him. Consistency, it's a good points race for him, but he has not won at Bristol in the last 10 years. So, you know, he's a little bit different this year. These guys are on a roll, so we can see him in victory lane, but it's been a long time since he's been in victory lane.
Who's up next?
I'm going to take the 18 of Kyle Busch. Here's a guy that knows his way to victory lane. He's won here 5 times in a Cup car, and he's off to a great start this season.
Given the way things have been going in 2014, you may be a little bit surprised at this one, but again, these are the top 3 as far as average finishing positions over the last 9 years. Greg Biffle, he's got 19 Cup wins, but none have been on a short track. Is that about to change this weekend?
talking to him the other day, I don't think so. But I think Greg would be very, very happy just getting out of Bristol with a decent finish because based on our conversation, they've got a lot of work to do this year.
So we will see. Each day here on NASCAR America, we celebrate the heart of racing across the country. And today, we focus on the thrill of victory with these victory lane snapshots of winners across the short tracks of the Southeast. NASCAR America continues when we come back.
Jumpstart your spring at Pep Boys.
Defensive end Michael Johnson. That's coming up 5:30 right here for Football Talk.
On this day in NASCAR in 1961, Fireball Roberts led all 178 laps in a win at Marchbank Speedway in Hanford, California. In 72, one-time series champ Bobby Isaac wins at Rockingham for his 37th and final Cup victory. And in 2000, Dale Earnhardt beat Bobby Labonte by 1/100th of a second at Atlanta. It was the second closest finish in the Intimidator's career. More Bristol bad blood. 2002, the nationwide race was almost over, but it ended early for Kevin Harvick after contact from the Biff, Greg Biffle. Well, Harvick didn't call it a day just yet. He waited for the race's conclusion, then leapt from above onto Biffle for some face time. It earned Harvick a probation from NASCAR. Things get pretty serious at Bristol, that's for sure. Wonder what we'll see this weekend. Wally, every race, as we know, is important, but some races carry more weight than others. You know, Bristol lets teams know, which teams know, whether their short track package is together, whether it's up to scratch or not. Certain teams, certain drivers are looking for turnaround points. Who do you think some of those key players are?
Well, one is certainly Stewart-Haas Racing driver Kurt Busch. They need to turn their season around, and he's very good at Bristol. He's got 5 victories. So this is a place where they could put everything behind him right now, go to one of his favorite racetracks and put some numbers up on the board. One
of the other teams that we have been talking about this week on NASCAR America is Roush Fenway Racing. Are they in that basket as well?
Absolutely, and Carl Edwards is another guy that needs to get things turned around, and he's another guy that's got 2 wins at Bristol. So this is a big weekend for those drivers and teams.
Momentum, confidence, morale is a big thing. It's going to help Carl and the 99 team coming off that top 5 finish, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, this is what these guys need to really start their season.
All right, so we'll be watching for that. It's carrying a lot of weight this weekend, heading into Thunder Valley and for Bristol. So from the entire NASCAR America family, we want to say thanks for watching. A couple of quick reminders. Pro Football Talk is next, and then Wednesday night is Rivalry Night. And it's the Boston Bruins and the Montreal Canadiens. We'll see you again tomorrow. Wally and I'll be back. NASCAR America, Thursday. We'll see you then.